Hello, my name is Emily Nelson, and it has been a wonderful experience working with and learning from all of you throughout this course. Thank you so much for taking the time to watch my presentation. So, a little bit about me first. In the spring of 2018, I graduated from the University of Northwestern, which is located in St. Paul, Minnesota. While my original plan was to get a degree in ESL education, I ended up switching things up my junior year and graduated with a bachelor's degree in psychology and a minor in TESOL and Chinese studies. My plan after graduation was to travel somewhere in Asia in order to gain experience teaching and to buy some time in order to decide whether I wanted to pursue the field of education or psychology. However, for various reasons, I ended up staying in Minnesota and worked for about half a year doing entry-level jobs in the field of social work. It was during this time that I realized education was a field that was better suited to my gifts and my passions. For the last 2 years, I've been working in various districts, gaining experience working with special needs students. I've currently been working about a year at a school dedicated to providing incredible support for students who are on the autism spectrum. After completing this master's degree program at ASU, I hope to get licensed as an ESL teacher and begin working in that field. So, for my context, I currently have no real-time experience working with English learners. Therefore, my context for this project is made up, but it relates to a context that I wish to possibly teach in the future. My context is an after-school language program for second grade students living in Minhang, a city on the outskirts of Shanghai. The content area that I teach in is English, and the total number of students attending the after-school language program is 350, with a total of 10 English teachers and 15 assistants working in the program. I teach 16 male and 23 female students. They are all at about a pre to early English production stage. Most of my students come from middle to upper class families, are ethnically Han, and speak Mandarin. Many of my students also speak a dialect of Mandarin called Shanghainese. French and Cantonese are other common languages spoken in the Shanghai area, but none of my students speak them. So the 4 areas of my project all have to do with oral language development. The first area of focus has to do with the stages of language development. Because most of my students are beginners in terms of speaking English, I wanted to especially focus my time researching and developing plans for students while they are in the silent period. The second area of focus is about the importance of practicing language in contexts outside of class. Language development can accelerate when students are able to learn English in non-academic settings. The third area of focus is about promoting low anxiety in the classroom. Because language learners are especially susceptible to experiencing anxiety, it is important for teachers to put thought into how they can lower their students' negative feelings by changing aspects of the classroom environment. Lastly, the fourth area of focus for this project is about conversational language. Learning how to use English to talk to people and carry on conversations is just as important as learning the academic aspects of English. I want to teach my students how to use English in a way that benefits them socially and feels natural. So the first area that I will be focusing on during this presentation is the importance of having students practice using English outside of the classroom environment. So currently in China, English, in addition to most other subjects, is taught strictly for academic purposes. Often great pressure is put on teachers to teach their students in a way that will help them test well. Much of this testing culture can be traced back in history to the imperial period, nearly 2,000 years ago. The imperial examinations were used to select the high-ranking officials for the country. The score that someone received from these tests determined the position in civil society. In China today, tests are given to students as early as kindergarten. Throughout their education, students continue to take high-stakes tests, which are used for the selection of the best talent to emerge in society. So, as you can tell, English is usually presented as something that is very academic. So the document on this slide shows a few of the current speaking standards English teachers in China are required to follow. So I'm going to go right ahead and just read through the standards. So number 1, I lecture on how to improve general English speaking ability. 2, I lecture on test-taking strategies for independent speaking tests. 3, I lecture on test-taking strategies for integrated speaking tasks. 4, I provide sample answers to independent speaking tasks. 5, I provide sample templates to integrated speaking tasks. 6, I give feedback on students' performance in a mock speaking test. 7, I examine scoring rubrics for independent speaking tasks. 8, I explain scoring rubrics for integrated speaking tasks. And 9, I correct student pronunciation and intonation. So as you can tell, the standards have a lot to do with lectures, rubrics, and tests, and quite honestly, they're pretty boring. While following the standards that are required of me as a teacher is very important, I also want to give my students the opportunity to practice their oral English language skills in a somewhat more enjoyable way. I believe that when students feel that they are under less pressure and have the opportunity to branch out from their typical classroom lectures and textbooks, a different kind of learning can take place. As a way to encourage my students to engage in their learning of the English language outside of class, I have developed a bingo card to help guide them through various fun English learning activities. My students will be required to complete 2 activities from the bingo card each week, and after each activity is completed, they will receive a sticker to place over the bingo box. Once 5 activities are completed by each student and stickers are placed over each activity, then they will receive a prize. So there are a total of 5 different types of English language learning activities that are listed throughout the bingo card. So I'm just going to briefly go through each activity. So the first activity that is listed is to have the students check out a book from the classroom library to read at home. So in my classroom, I have a bookcase filled with various English children's stories. On the bingo card, I listed specific books they can check out. Examples of these books are Green Eggs and Ham and If You Give a Moose a Muffin. Once they have finished reading the book at home, they will return the book to the classroom and then receive a sticker on their bingo card. The second activity that I've listed is for students to watch a video from the Exciting English channel on YouTube. This channel has age-appropriate video clips from popular Pixar and Disney movies. The clip will play over a few times, first without subtitles and second with subtitles, and highlighting each word as it is said. The third activity listed is for students to practice greeting someone in English. This could be someone from their family, it could be friends, or it could be a person serving their food at a restaurant. While they are only required to speak a short greeting such as, "Hello, how are you?" it would be awesome if students feel that they can carry on the conversation even a little further than that. The main goal is to have them gain confidence while they're speaking English in small steps with other people. The fourth activity listed on the bingo card is for students to watch a sing-along video from the Super Simple Song channel on YouTube. While these videos are definitely directed towards a younger audience, what I do like about it is that the words are sung and displayed on the screen along with pictures and animation. The topics of these songs vary from being about different kinds of food all the way to being about the weather. The fifth activity on the bingo card is for students to watch and read along to a story from the Learn English Through Stories channel on YouTube. The narrator of these stories reads at about a medium pace and includes subtitles. There are also various levels of stories. So for example, I would recommend level 1 for my students. There was a wide range of popular stories for students to choose from, including Beauty and the Beast and Anne of Green Gables. A portion of the research on the topic of practicing English outside of the classroom comes from Wright. Wright defined communicative language teaching, or CLT, as the focusing on learning a language to practically use it to communicate in the target language with other speakers. This method of teaching was formed out of a dissatisfaction with current teaching methods that produce students who can memorize dialogues and respond to drills but could not actually communicate with others in the target language. The main principles of CLT are to learn a language through using it to communicate. Communication involves the integration of different language skills, and learning is a process of creative construction and involves trial and error. By engaging in non-academic activities in the target language, the goal is that students will learn to develop skills to comprehend and communicate in English more naturally. I don't believe that always teaching to perform is a very practical way for students to learn English. By participating in the bingo activity, students will have the opportunity to learn English differently than they would during academic lessons, and hopefully gain valuable and practical skills in English because of it. The other portion of research on this topic comes from Shin. Currently, students are lacking in activities aimed at teaching them the skills to interact with English in natural environments. Most of the emphasis is placed on teachers having a rigid syllabus and focusing on teaching the grammatical rules of English. However, this way of teaching results in students having excellent test scores, but poor communication skills. The second area of focus for this project is conversational development. The author of the South China Morning Post wrote about how many students in China lack the soft power of English communication skills. While students may not be able to hold a conversation well when they're submerged in an environment with English speakers, they could perform excellently on an English exam. The author goes on to say that being exam savvy does not necessarily translate into functionality. Failing to understand the overall meaning of English words will hinder English students in the long run. In order to support my students in their development of conversational English, I've created a question of the day routine. The idea is that each day of the week, my students will answer a different question. Depending on what day of the week it is, will determine how my students answer the question. So I'm going to go right ahead and just read through the question of the day routine, Monday through Friday. So on Monday, the theme is sticky notes. So each student will get a sticky note. The teacher asks a question requiring a list as an answer. The students get 1 minute to write down as much as they can come up with. After the minute is over, the students will get a chance to share their list with a partner that the teacher assigns. An example of this type of question would be, write down your favorite pizza toppings. On Tuesday, the theme is Team Huddle. The teacher gathers students into groups of 3 to 4 to answer the question of the day. After all students have shared their answers within their groups, the teacher will ask a student from each group to share their answers. The theme on Wednesday is Find a Friend. Students can choose their own partner to discuss the question of the day with. Thursday, the theme is Would You Rather? The teacher asks a Would You Rather question, and the students are told to discuss their answers with the students who are seated to their right and to their left. Friday, the theme is What is your favorite? The teacher asks a question having to do with favorites. For example, what is your favorite ocean creature? The teacher will draw 3 names at a time out of a jar. The 3 names that are drawn will make a sharing group. After the question is discussed, the teacher will go around the room and ask each student to tell what their favorite was. No explanation as to why they chose what they did is necessary for each student. So the first piece of research that is related to this topic comes from Wright. Wright says, the most important and beneficial listening and speaking that students will do is through interaction with the teacher, their fellow ELLs, and proficient English speakers within the sociocultural context of their classroom, school, and neighborhood. The second piece of research related to this topic comes from Freeman and Freeman. Freeman and Freeman quote Krashen. And Krashen believes that students must interact with meaningful language in order to acquire it. Presenting only parts of a language at a time will not result in the language truly being learned. Freeman and Freeman go on to say that students need comprehensible input, messages they can understand, either in oral or written form. Comprehensible input allows the language acquisition device to develop the internal rules needed to understand and produce the new language. Lastly, the third source of research comes from Kay. And Kay really gives a lot of input about question of the day and having students participate in classroom conversation. And she emphasizes the importance of structuring conversation time, and she warns against fossilization. And fossilization takes place when students communicate or have conversation with their friend or the same student each day, therefore not learning how to communicate or learning skills from their other classmates. And so she really suggests having conversational partners that get switched up in order to avoid this. All right, so here are the sources that I used for my project. Thank you to everyone who took the time to watch my presentation. It has been a great experience working with each of you, and I wish you the best as you continue on in this program.